Welcome to Financials with Ahau. It's a privilege to be together with you as we continue on our Making Wealth series and as we pick up on the Women of Wealth conversation, or Woman of Wealth conversation, if we want to make it more individual and own it for ourselves. As I was reflecting yesterday and today on what conversation we would have, I kept asking God, what is the next step you'd like us to talk about? What would you like us to build up on? Even as we continue to understand the call that God has placed on women, as we seek to see the established purposes of God through women come to pass. And I was taken back to a scripture. I think this time I'm really being played around Genesis, maybe because it is the beginning. And the scripture that came is Genesis 2:18. Very short, but this is what it says. And the Lord said, "It is not good that a man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." And when I thought about it, I was just like, this is so profound. A few years back, I remember listening to a speech by one of the women who's very renowned globally from Nigeria. I think she was the first woman president of Ecobank. She's done businesses that have scaled global heights, just a woman of fast. And the core thing she brought out that day as she spoke to that graduated class was there's a 50% of the population that needs to be brought to the table because there's what God has placed in them. And when we look at statistics, for a long time, we always told, oh, men are more, or is it women are more? Actually, it's women are more. But globally, when we look at the statistics, it balances out. I think it usually falls at 46, 42%, or was it 48, 40, something of that sort. So there is actually a 50% that God has placed in women. And this scripture we have just read defines it so clearly. Now, when God made women, he thought of them specific to a purpose that was related to the man he had already created. And he thought of them as a helpmeet. When we look at the word helpmeet, I've used helpmeet because it is Old English. But the newer English version usually says helper. The person who helps is a person who has capacity to walk with you a journey you are taking so that you can reach it. Whenever you think of help, you can use assistance, we can use support. It means this person has the capacity to hold and walk with you in a journey you're taking. And that is something you need to understand for women from times of old to date. That the role that God gave a woman means she carries the capacity to do what she needs to do. It also means that everything that is happening needs the support of a woman. And of course, the people will say no. There are also the super arguments that go the other direction and say a woman can do it alone. No. The place of a woman doing this is within community. So that has to remain very defined. Let's go back to that scripture. So God had created, God was done with the animals, everything was looking good. And then we come to Genesis 2:20, when we see what Adam was doing and what was going on. So Adam gave names to all cattle, to the birds of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper comparable to him. And this is so clear that the specificity English of how God made woman was very defined to the role she was going to play. And I'd like us to just allow ourselves to see it beyond the human eye, because we know in spirit there is no female or male. But in the flesh, God allowed for us to have the male and the female, so that then the completion of us as a human could happen because of how the two were created. And that is a deeper place I want us to reflect on, especially in our world today that is so keen on creating separation instead of creating a convergence. A wife that is so keen on saying, let the women take this direction, let the men take that direction, as though there is no place where they are meant to walk in one direction. And I love one of my favorite speakers, another doing series, I'm sure I'll mention her all the time, is a Nigerian speaker, again, very solid, who constantly calls women to the place of coming up in helping. And it's not the place of taking over, but it's the place of coming up in helping. She says, business is being discussed in your home. Bring your idea. She says, people are thinking through end to end of how they will market, how they will do ministry, how they will support communities. Think with them and bring it to the table, because what you carry is so defined in what is going to happen. I want us to write it down. Think of the space where you exist and definitively write it down. What do I bring on this table as a woman? What is it that I carry that when I come with it on this table, the level of accomplishment is able to change because I have brought my help? Many times when we reflect to help, we can even look at our homes. Sometimes we say, oh, that's just the helper. But we all know in the absence of the helper, our homes would not function. In the absence of the people who even do simple things for us, like opening gates, these are roles which are considered to be helping roles, but things would not happen as they should. I want us to embrace the role of a helper as a way of the 50% coming on board, so that then they can be completion of the purposes of God and the fulfillment of the role that He has placed on women. Thank you so much for listening. Keep thinking through, keep putting this to action, and we shall truly see the fruition of 100% functioning of the humans that God placed on this earth. It's been awesome. It's a how. Talk to you soon again.